Marhaba, and welcome to the Matrix Green Pill, where real people connect.
Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. I'm Hilmarie Hutchison, and today I am so excited to introduce Jeffrey Henseler as our podcast guest for this week. Jeffrey is the founder and group CEO of a Swiss advisory boutique, Passport Legacy. He holds an interesting background as someone who left school to pursue business and built quite the legacy for himself. But instead of me telling his story, let's hear from Jeffrey himself. Jeffrey, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Hilmarie. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. Pleasure being here.
So let's get started. And for listeners who don't already know you, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
My name is Jeffrey. I'm from Switzerland. I grew up in a village with about 800 inhabitants. Everything around us in that specific village was growing local. We went to our local school in that specific village, knew each other, and it was a very beautiful childhood growing up in that specific village in Switzerland. I started the company Passport Legacy about 4.5 years ago here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Currently, we are about 40 people worldwide, and we have offices in 6 countries around the planet.
Wow, fantastic. So from a little village of 800 people, you are now working with people all around the world. How incredible. So let's step a little bit back before we talk about Passport Legacy. I know that you decided to leave school to pursue business. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, in Switzerland, you practically have 2 options. One of them is you go and pursue your studies, meaning you are going to the university and you study a specific thing. The other thing or the other option is that you actually go and work. And during that time you work, you also visit 1.5 days during that time school. The nice thing about this scheme in Switzerland that we have is that you see technically in all kind of aspects or in all kind of industries within that specific company. So you are a certain amount of time in accounting, you're a certain amount of time in sales, you're a certain amount of time in marketing. And all this combined with this 1.5 day school, this 3-year program that they offer, is something that allows you not only to learn one specific thing and then specialize in that, but to technically it can open the doors to several things.
That's a very practical, very hands-on approach so that you can really experience different things before you make up your mind which direction you want to take.
It comes with advantages and disadvantages, I would say, because you need to decide where or in what kind of job you exactly go by the time you're 15 years old. So if you compare that with other countries, most of the people definitely have time, or people from other countries, they definitely have time to decide the exact path they would like to go until 18, 19, 21, even in some cases. In Switzerland, if you do not want to pursue studies, you definitely have to go into a specific direction. My specific direction was sales. So I was working in a company that was an advisory for high-end clothing in Switzerland. And then that specific company, then I was learning the different aspects of it.
Yeah, that is very young to have to know. I don't think there's many 15-year-olds that know what they want to do with their future. So that is...
Most of us don't.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. So then why sales? What was it that attracted you to sales? Or was it just, well, I've got to choose something, so let's just try this?
I would say that's one part I was good at. I was not very good in, accounting or in IT or anything else related to that. I was always a very open person. I loved having contact with several people. And for that reason, I thought that it would be nice for myself to take that opportunity to be in touch with a lot of people, and that feeling, it doesn't matter what it is exactly, but that feeling of selling something just gives me a certain satisfaction that no one other industry was able to give me. And for that reason, I decided to pursue that.
It is lovely to find what you're passionate about. Makes life a lot easier, no doubt. What led you to starting up Passport Legacy? What was the catalyst for that?
I think that started way earlier when when I grew up in that village until like 13 years old. I've never really been to a big city. I have cousins in New York, and we went to visit them when I was 13 years old. And that's when I realized, what's out there in this world practically. And we went around the city, and I just fell in love with that bustling feeling a big city has to offer compared to an 800 inhabitant village. From that stage onwards, then I always traveled to certain cities. In 2012, then I visited Dubai for my first time. While I liked New York a lot, Dubai just gave me a little bit more than that, especially when it comes to the safety. I like the sun, where we have a lot of that here. When it comes to the business orientation, I like the Arab way as well, or doing business in countries of Arabic origin. When I was here in 2012, I was about 17 by then. I met a person here that was having a business here, and we stayed in touch all the time. With 21 then, I actually moved here and started to work with that company here in the United Arab Emirates. I learned a lot about the specific industry. They were in a very similar industry than Passport Legacy is. After 4 years of working with that company, then I decided to start Passport Legacy in 2018.
That's incredible. And you were what, 24 at the time?
I was 24 at the time I started my own company, correct? That was 4 years ago, 28 now, turning 29 in May.
Congratulations. That's so well done.
Thank you very much.
So then you grew this company in a matter of 4 years. You've grown from starting it fresh to 40 people around the world.
Correct, yes. I mean, a lot of work went into that, of course, over the past 4 years. During those 4 years, I also became a father twice, together with my wife. So it was definitely, some moments were very, very challenging, obviously, having two small children below 2 years old. And on top of that, the need to be 100% active and focused on the business. However, the people within the company make the real difference, because the people in this company are working very hard, are very switched on, and very passionate about the industry and of our work together. Of course, if you have great people within your team, it makes it much easier, especially trustworthy people. I think is even more important than only the hard work, right? Because if you cannot trust somebody, if you cannot rely on somebody, it will not give you that certain feeling that I currently have with handing over certain tasks. And I know they will be taken care of in the best way possible only. Important to know there is we deal with high net worth individuals. They do not accept anything less than the best service that there is out there. And based on our people, we are definitely able to give that to them.
That's brilliant. You're right. Integrity is absolutely key to the people that surround you. And to have people around you that you can trust and rely on makes all the difference between a company that's going to be successful and one that won't make it. So well done that you've been able to build that kind of team around you. That's fantastic. So what does Passport Legacy do?
We provide citizenship and residence by investment services. That means a certain individual, hardworking person from a country, let's call it Nigeria, who has a very weak passport, a passport that cannot access you to any of the countries in the Schengen area, for example, the UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, in all the business hubs, they do not have access to if they do not apply for a visa. Now, such visa applications can take sometimes 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. In the United States, there is sometimes a waiting period of 2 or 3 years until you get your appointment to finally get that visa. So what certain countries in this world do, they do two things. Number one, certain countries such as Greece or Portugal, they offer you a residency that will allow you to travel, for example, then within the Schengen area. And in case something happens in their home country, they would be entitled and able to go and live in that specific country, such as Portugal or Greece. So it gives them a little bit of peace of mind that will enable them to just have a plan B in place in case something happens. Other countries, they go a little bit further. They say, if you make a certain investment in our country and you pass all due diligence checks, you will receive a passport of a specific country such as St. Lucia, for example, which is a country located in the Caribbean. That passport then enables them immediately access to 140 something countries worldwide. including the Schengen area, Singapore, Hong Kong, etc. So if they have a meeting tomorrow in Singapore and the week afterwards in the Schengen area, their passport is never stuck at some kind of embassies, and they never have to worry if they get a certain visa or not. So for certain high net worth individuals, getting a passport like that, which starts anywhere at $100,000, it can even pay out just by attending, certain meetings that they could have not done with their current passport. And these procedures, they take about 6 months from the day we start to the day receive citizenship, while obviously most important is that they pass due diligence.
So this is opening up options and avenues to people, of course, as you mentioned, high net worth individuals who would otherwise have been blocked from certain options, or it would have been harder for them to travel to certain places or do business in certain places. So there certainly is a need for this kind of option. So this is the kind of service that you are providing.
Correct, yes. One of the things you cannot decide, right? That's one of the things you cannot influence. You cannot influence in which country you will be born or what passport you will be holding at birth, more or less, right? So that's definitely an option for them to take it in their own hands and say, I need that. I want a stronger passport. I want to have the best education for my children. I want them to be able to move if that requires them. And I want my family to live in safety. And a second residence or citizenship certainly helps that.
Let's shift focus a little bit from high net worth individuals to an orphanage. I know that in addition to your company, Passport Legacy, you've also worked your way to building an orphanage. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, with pleasure. I love to talk about that since we really pride ourselves with that as well. So what happened was, prior to me moving to Dubai in 2015, in 2014, I was in South Africa and I helped there working on a project which was called Project Abroad. And we were building a kindergarten there in a township called Lavender Hill. It's a township with about 20,000 inhabitants, quite small for South Africa, considering there are some others with 1 or 2 million inhabitants. And we were building a kindergarten there. I actually got this as a present from my aunt when I was 16. So she told me, at some point in time, we will go and we will do something, charity work. And when I was 16, I was like, okay, what is that? I need to go to work. How is that a present? But when I finished that project in South Africa, it gave me a feeling that nothing else can. It is something that fulfills your heart in a way that, for me personally, nothing else can. During that time, I met a person there, and that specific lady, she was always involved into charity projects, and she was also traveling a lot around the world, and she was going a lot to Africa, and she stayed in a place called Mozambique one time. And during that time, she told me, it's absolutely beautiful here, and she did a little bit of charity where we also put a little bit of money in it, and it seemed to be very nice there. When she left afterwards, I visited that place also one time myself, and I met several people that were telling me that what they need is an orphanage here because there are so many orphans. And that place is called Vilanculos in Mozambique. About 1.5 years ago, then we, after, speaking to the authorities and to the government and to the mayor and all parties involved, we found the perfect spot, which used to be an elderly home back in the days. However, it was abandoned 6 years ago and we had to restructure all buildings, etc. And did not even have access to water, no electricity. So we have been building over the last 1.5 years that specific orphanage. And I just came back in December from there. And we have the official openings the 8th of February. So during the past 1.5 years, the orphanage was fully funded by myself, meaning Passport Legacy. So Passport Legacy, for each and every client that we sign, we put a certain amount towards the orphanage. And based on that, we were able to build, to get access to everything related to that. And the orphanage, once it's fully up and running, will host 50 children. First 10 children will be moving in on the 1st of February, 2023. So in less than a month. And we are very excited for that.
What a brilliant story. These are the types of stories we so love to hear and share with our audience. When somebody's successful in their business, but they then step away from that to give to others who are in need. And as you say, there's nothing as fulfilling as giving back to others. We cannot repay you. So that's an absolutely fantastic story.
Absolutely right.
How often do you get to travel down there, or are you doing this by distance?
Yeah, well, we have our full team, of course, on the ground. We have 11 staff there. That comes, of course, including 3 securities, 2 chefs, 2 people that take care of the children, a gardener, etc., and also a project manager, which is from Switzerland. He's there partially because he also still has a job and a life in Switzerland that he follows, but he's there at the moment in order to complete the entire project. I try to visit twice a year for sure. I will be there again, of course, for the opening. And once it's up and running, definitely one of our team members as well, many of them will go for sure also once a year. So there is always somebody there more or less from the company and from our people within Passport Legacy. Everything runs by itself. So it doesn't need we don't need to be there because the team is very well trained. There is a nurse on the ground or people that take care of the children in the night, because the children that we will be receiving or that will get access to that orphanage will be between 5 to 11 years old. And 5 to 11-year-old children, they definitely we want to give them everything that we got when we were children. That means somebody will do the homework together with us. If we are waking up at night, we want somebody to be there. They will get 3 meals a day. They will have access to education and schooling. We will also start a volunteer program where people, like, for example, somebody's a teacher, they have 13 weeks vacation, at least in Switzerland, maybe they want to spend 1 or 2 weeks out of their vacation in Vilanculos, in our orphanage, and teach children, for example, something. Maybe there is somebody that plays the guitar and would like to teach the children how to play guitar. So we will really count people around the world that will be going and visiting that orphanage. We count on that actually more than on funds. Because the funds, we will try to cover most of it, while certain people are also interested then to have something like a or to become a godfather or godmother to one of the children that will be able to receive certain updates from that child then. And I believe that in 5 or 10 years down the line, we'll see exactly what happened to that specific child. If they get access to food, education, love, which is very important for a child, we have the feeling that they will go very far in life.
Absolutely. You're setting them up for success from the get-go by giving them all those basic essentials. And as you say, just to have somebody there who can support them when they need it. It sounds absolutely brilliant. And then to open up that opportunity for others around the world to come and support you in whatever way physically sounds also like a fantastic idea.
It helps usually the volunteers that go there. You think, me as a volunteer, I will go there, I'll help these children, However, what you receive in return is actually much more, because as I experienced it myself in 2014 when I was in South Africa, you are one of the happiest people, because these children, when you see them and what makes them happy and how happy they are with very, very small things, it just puts you down on the ground again and you realize actually what's important in this life.
So true. Absolutely. Let's just talk a little bit about Goodwill Mozambique. You're also involved with them. Can you tell us about Goodwill Mozambique and how people can contribute to Goodwill Mozambique?
Definitely. So Goodwill Mozambique is the organization. We are a non-profit organization registered in Mozambique as well as in Switzerland. This is mainly done by myself as well as by Passport Legacy. So we hold that non-profit organization. When it comes to the organization itself, our main project is that orphanage. However, at the same time, we also put ourselves into women empowerment, because that's definitely something that is lacking massively in Mozambique. Females still have a way smaller voice than the men out there, although, and I'm talking out of my own experience, when I see them, they work way harder, okay? If they have a job and if they do work, they work way harder, they put way more efforts in. And for that reason, we really want to empower that. Then we also really want to not only have the children in the orphanage itself that we try to get somewhere. We also want to support local families, because sometimes the children, they have parents or a grandmother and they have a lovely home. The only problem is that money is so tight that they will not be able to give the child what they need in terms of education, food, etc. So we also put ourselves in that shoes. And on top of that, we're also supporting a football team there, because once the children are 16, 17, 18, it is important to have a certain hobby or something that is important for you in life, so that when it gets hard, you don't go the wrong path right away and, go into crime, maybe into drugs and all these things related. So based on that, we also really want to support the teenagers there, which is at the end of the day also the future of the country.
That's a fantastic initiative. My goodness, you certainly keep busy. You're running a Passport Legacy, and then you're keeping so busy with the orphanage and this non-profit organization. That's so commendable. So well done. And thank you for doing all these things. As you say, the children benefit, but also everyone that's supporting you is benefiting in their own way from being part of this journey with you. It's fantastic.
Definitely. You asked before how people can donate or contribute towards it.
Yes.
Once we're up and running in that specific orphanage, we will unlock this opportunity to support a child. This can be $50 a month. This can be $100 a month. And based on that, they will get access to certain things. Okay. Then we will also have certain fundraisers. If we want, for example, 2 goals and a ball, where the people can play football on the orphanage itself, there will be something like that. But for now, we wanted to sponsor practically everything ourselves and not do any fundraisers, because Africa can be quite tricky sometimes. And if the government in that specific village says tomorrow, hey guys, sorry, not anymore, we need that specific land now, it's very different, let's say, especially in the village side of Mozambique. And for that reason, we did not really want to take any donations until it's up and running. Because if we take donations now, people will ask tomorrow, hey, what happened with my money? Where is it going? And in order for us not to answer these kind of questions, because many people don't really know how difficult it can be in certain places in Africa, we decided to fund everything ourselves. And once we have something to prove and something to show, which will be 8th of February onwards, that's when we will be very happy to take donations on board.
That sounds excellent. I think your approach was a wise one. And I'm hoping that you can share maybe a couple of pictures with us of how the orphanage is looking. We can put that on the webpage that we make for the podcast. I'm sure our audience would like to see how it looks.
We'll send them right over afterwards, definitely.
That sounds great. So we like to leave some tips with our audience, some lesson from your life journey. Is there anything that you've learned, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's with your business, whether it's with the orphanage, that you could share with our audience?
I think happiness is a very important factor in everything in life. Okay, to be friendly, that's very important. To be happy, generally happy. If you meet somebody, firm handshake, smile, eye contact, I think very, very little can go wrong. If you combine that with very hard work and with the, getting up in the morning, driving, hit the gym, go to work, I think if you follow all these steps, I believe path to success is nearly guaranteed. Coming back again to that aspect of happiness, I believe that makes a very big difference. If you wake up in the morning, you're groggy, you go to work, you say a very unmotivated hello to your team and, see you later, you close the door behind you, you take a seat, you answer some emails. I think it affects the spirit in your office a lot, because at the end of the day, if you're leading a certain team, you definitely want to be an idol to them. And that comes for sure with a positive attitude. So I would really say the happiness or the general motivation that comes through happiness is a very important aspect. And I ask everybody to walk into their workplace and just to say hi to everybody and, chip chat in the morning, even if it's only 5 minutes. It's very, very important to connect to your colleagues, and it makes a big difference. I've seen that now for the past, let's say, nearly 12 years that I'm, or let's say 11 years that I'm working. I would really say that to everybody, that going into the office motivated with a smile, handshake with everyone can make a very, very big difference.
I think that's a good message. I love it. Nowhere in did I hear you say, make lots of money to be happy. Just have a positive, happy outlook.
That follows, that follows automatically. If you follow all the steps, nobody should go to work, or especially if you're in business, if you own a company, you don't do it for the money usually. You do it for so many other things, and the money follows automatically.
I love it. Very, very nice. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Jeffrey. It's certainly inspiring. You've accomplished so much. I'm sure you're going to inspire others, especially young people listening to this, thinking they don't have to just follow one path, that there's so many ways that we can follow. And I think you're an excellent role model for somebody as young as you are to have accomplished so much already. Now we have come to the segment of our show where we'd like to ask you some rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
What's your favorite cuisine?
I would say sushi, Japanese.
Besides the UAE and your home country, what is another country you would like to live in?
Well, that very depends on the fact if I would be retiring there or if I have to work there. If it would be for retirement, definitely Cape Town, South Africa. That's one of my favorite places in the world. For everything else, I could definitely imagine myself living in the United States at some point in time.
Excellent. And what is one thing you do every day, no matter how busy you are?
Definitely spend time with my children. I do bedtime every single day. I can work until 6:30. Then I go home quickly. They go to bed at 7 o'clock sharp. So I will do bedtime. I'll read them a story, and afterwards I'm free again for business dinners or even back to the office if it has to be. But this 6:30 till 7:15, nobody will take from me ever.
Fantastic. And your children, that will stand them in good stead for the rest of their lives. That is so important and so lovely that you make that time for them.
Definitely.
And that's the end of our game show. So that was pretty easy. But before we wrap up, we'd like to do our green pill moment. So what was your green pill moment, the action or event that was the turning point for you or your career?
I would really say it happened within within many different kind of events that happened. One of the major things was definitely that visit to America, to New York, when I realized, all right, there is more in this world than my 800 habitant village. Another such moment was definitely when I visited the first time Dubai. I was also during the second or third time I was having a flight to Bahrain during the time I did an internship here in the United Arab Emirates in a similar industry. And we provided that specific client, which was a Syrian individual that was living in Saudi, but we met in between in Bahrain. During the time, we helped them with an application for an Antiguan and Barbudan citizenship. And once I went back to Switzerland after that, 5 months later, I got the notification that they actually received their citizenship and that they're so happy and that it was life-changing and everything. And that was definitely a moment that I will never forget in my life because it was the first meeting, the first real meeting, let's say, that I had in my life. And I wanted to be in that industry in Dubai or in the Middle East generally so bad that I tried everything in my life from that time onwards to get to where I am today, meaning living in the United Arab Emirates and having a business in that specific industry.
Fantastic. And to see what you could do to help someone else and see the impact of that must be so rewarding for you.
It is, for sure.
Thank you so much again, Jeffrey, for sharing your insightful experiences and with all the different things that you have accomplished. I'm so sure our listeners are going to enjoy this conversation as much as I have. Before we say goodbye, though, could you please tell our listeners where they can find and follow you? And we'll also put this in the show notes.
Definitely, I'm a very private person when it comes to social media. I don't really flash my life on social media at all, practically. However, you can follow me on LinkedIn, obviously, where I'm quite active. Jeffrey Henseler, easy to find. I would also love everybody who would like to meet up for a coffee. I'm always very open. And even more importantly, if somebody wants to be a volunteer, even if it's just for a week or 2 weeks in Mozambique, they say in summer, I have a week off. Let me do that. I can guarantee your happiness that will be gained during that 1 week in Mozambique. And on top of that, you do make an impact. If you sit with these children, if you teach them something, they will never forget that in life.
Fantastic. And the person giving their time would never forget that either. So it's a win-win situation. Fantastic. Thank you again, Jeffrey, for joining us today. I wish you all the very best. And for sure, I will be following your journey as well.
Thank you so much, El-Marie. Absolute pleasure to be on your podcast. I wish you an amazing day and we'll talk soon.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.